Celebrating 4 years of talk like you've never heard it before. This is GABNET, the Great American Broadcast Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard the GABNET tour bus. Today our tour will take us up and around the newly designed GABNET.net webpage. For your safety, please stay seated while the bus is in motion and enjoy your trip. Also, remember that tipping your tour guide is greatly appreciated. Okay, we're off. The first place of interest that we're going to pass on the top left, you'll see a rotating billboard of all of the great GABNET programs. Legend has it that legendary broadcaster Alex Bennett created this billboard to attract early visitors to GABNET and to lure them into his site. To this day, it's one of the top attractions on our tour. Up next, look over at the top right and you'll see the most recent video of Alex Bennett's Ramble. And if you're lucky enough, we'll see Alex interacting with the citizen panel. Always a tour highlight. Did I mention that tipping your tour guide is greatly appreciated? As we approach the bottom of the Ramble video, we see quick links to all the ways that you can connect with GABNET programs. Facebook Live, YouTube, TuneIn, Livestream, Vimeo, and the GABNET Roku channel. They're all additional stops that you can make if you choose to step off the bus. But remember, please tip your tour guide if you do, and then you can hop on the next bus. Here's another highlight on our tour. On the left side, you'll see GABNET On Demand. You can quickly access any of the most recent programs there. Clearly, a value spot on our tour because downloads are at no extra cost. Please give your attention now to the right side. Look at the complete tutorial on how easy it is to become a citizen panelist. By the way, if you're a Luddite, there's a phone number that you can use to dial in. Okay, we're nearing the halfway point on our trip. I certainly hope that you're enjoying it. Oh look, there's the convenient call Skype button that you can click on, which will automatically connect you to the citizen panel. So now we're turning down the center of the page. I don't want you to miss any of these attractions, so please pay attention. Up first is a link to the 24/7 feed. Now these are going to come fast and furious, so pay attention. Next is a quick note on how you can hear GABNET on Amazon Echo. Next, quickly coming behind that, and this is always exciting, a screen that shows Alex Bennett's Ramble when it is live, with a countdown to the next show. It's always fun when we pass and the show is live. We're winding down our tour of GABNET.net, but before we reach our final stop, it's important to note that there is a place for you to contact them with your comments. Let them know how you like GABNET.net and the GABNET programming. And with that, we wrap up our tour. Remember, as you step off the bus, to please be careful. And also remember that GABNET is talk like you've never heard or seen it before. Did I mention, please tip your tour guide?
Jack Bishop of GABNET's The Intercept. Tuesdays through Fridays at midnight Eastern Time. It's everything from what's going on with the new royal couple to what's happening with that grumpy old man in the Oval Office. Movies, music, old TV shows, you name it. From thoughtful discussions to out-and-out fights like my grandma would referee between my uncles. So from mild to wild, join me, Jack Bishop, Tuesdays to Fridays at midnight for The Intersection on GABNET Live. It's talk like you never heard it.
Celebrating 4 years of talk like you've never heard it before. This is GABNET, the Great American Broadcast Network.
Hey, hey, this is Alex, and we're doing our show a little different way tonight. We're using a different system to do it with, so we'll see how it turns out. But we'll be talking to our citizens panel in just a little bit. But first, we got to go out and talk to a friend of ours. Well, everybody, it's time once again as we go out to the other coast of the United States and check in with the musical renderings of Larry Bubbles Brown. Hello, Larry.
The Birdman of Alcatraz.
Yeah, last time we were talking to you, which was a week ago in radio time, but just minutes ago in when we're sitting down and recording this shit time, you said that you like Feeding Crows. That sounds like the name of a rock group, Feeding Crows.
Yes, it was Counting Crows, I think.
Yeah, but Feeding Crows, and you said you like them because they're particularly intelligent. I did not know that about.
Yes, I read they're very intelligent. And they know me, and then I read they recognize it's facial recognition. They're very keen on that.
So I just went out. I got an iPhone X, and I look at it, and it recognizes me. Okay, without any hesitation. It just, oh, it's you. Okay, I'm on now. So what they probably did was they crossed a crow with an iPhone.
Yes.
And they got the facial recognition. No big problem, right?
There you go.
There you go. So what's new in your life, Larry?
Let's see. Nothing dreadfully exciting. I did find we did this before. I got my old annual here with the entertainment personalities of the past.
Yes. Oh,
you want me to run a couple of names by you again?
Oh, you're going to run a couple of names by me. Well, let's see. My brain is not as good as it used to be. I don't know who the governor of New York is, but go ahead.
Okay. Well. Oh my gosh, you almost lived to be 100. Shirley Booth, which I remember from Hazel.
Well, Hazel, but she also was the star of the movie and I believe the Broadway show of Come Back Little Sheba.
Yes, and I read that was her first movie and she won the Oscar for her very first movie.
Yes. And then sometimes people win Oscars and they go on to do shitty stuff. You ever notice that?
They win the Oscar, and that's it, yeah.
Who's that black actress who wound up doing Catwoman?
Halle Berry.
Halle Berry. She wins the Academy Award. The next thing she does is just a terrible, terrible movie. You know, they decide to cash in rather than to, hey, embellish their reputation. And so now she'll do anything, man. She'll show up for a fucking bar mitzvah.
Really?
Yeah.
That bad?
So Shirley Booth went on to do Hazel, and that was pretty much it. I mean, her career, there were some movies she did, but no, she didn't have a greater career after Come Back Little Sheba, you know. But anyway.
That's the only thing I remember for Little Sheba and...
and nobody knows who we're talking about, by the way. That's what an afterthought Shirley Booth is. I mean, most people my age would remember her. Most people kind of your age would remember her, but under 50, who's Shirley Booth? That's how fleeting fame is.
It really is.
Yeah. Okay.
I only remember this guy because he did commercials about not smoking because he was dying. Yul Brynner.
Well, of course I know Yul Brynner. I mean, he Magnificent
But
Seven.
What did he do?
Magnificent Seven, King and I. He did a lot of stuff. Yeah. No, he was on Broadway in The King and I, and then he did the movie, and then he did The Magnificent Seven. He did Westworld. He was the star of Westworld. Somehow he was like an Asian, and he was like from, I don't know, some place in Asia, like, some far-off mountainous region or whatever. And he used to run around, I understand. He made his living playing what they call gypsy guitar. And also in the guitar, he would have drugs and he would sell them. That's how he made his living in the early years. But he wound up basically playing cowboys. And how you even envision Yul Brynner as a cowboy is beyond me. But they put him in the Magnificent Seven, and from then on, anytime you wanted to play a cowboy, he was your man. He was the go-to guy. Okay, nothing rough here yet. Nothing rough here yet.
Nothing rough here, and this one is not rough at all. But he died. Oh my God, he died at 6. There's so many guys that have died much younger than us. John Cassavetes.
John Cassavetes, actor. Of course, he was in what do you call it? The one with the devil, Rosemary's Baby. He was in Rosemary's Baby, and he did a lot of other films. And then he became a very good director
He's a good director, right? He had some interesting stuff
of his own independent films. And I interviewed him years ago. He was in the room with me. I interviewed him for a film he did called I can't remember the name of it now, but he had two of his friends in it as well, and they were in the studio with him, and that was Ben Gazzara and Peter Falk.
Oh, not Husbands?
Husbands. That's what he was on for. Yeah,
1970.
Husbands. Yeah.
He had a sinister look. I don't know. He just looked kind of scary, I thought.
Yeah, he played bad guys on a lot of occasions. He was a good actor. He was a very good actor, but he was an even more inventive director. I mean, he did these very simple films, and people loved them. And I remember that was the first time I ever met Peter Falk. And somebody in another room was doing an interview with some prostitutes or something. And Falk is going, "Hey, there are hookers in the other room." I remember that was the interview where I said to him, I said, what do you think about violence in movies? And he says, "I hate violence in movies. There's no place in movies for violence." I said, "But you made your first big hit, and I think he won an Oscar for playing Abe Relis of Murder Incorporated." And he said, "Yeah, but I was acting." And then years later, I met up with him again at Sirius XM, and we had the nicest time together. He just loved me because I knew things about his career he figured nobody else cared about.
Mm-hmm.
Like my favorite movie with him in it is Tune In Tomorrow, which you probably never even seen.
Never heard of.
With Keanu Reeves, and it's all about this guy who writes radio plays in the late 40s, and any town he works in, the radio stations get burned down by angry mobs, and and you find out when you watch the movie, as the movie goes on, he goes to another town, and you find out why.
I'll have to. That's one of my favorite phrases is angry mobs.
Yeah, Tune In Tomorrow. Peter Falk, Keanu Reeves, Barbara Hershey, and he has one saying in it that I absolutely love, and I wonder, do I have it here? And I don't know if you'll be able to hear it when I play it, because but yeah, this is wait a minute, this is it, and you probably won't hear it. The problem is that this thing doesn't play that way. But here's the quote, and then I'll say it to you if you don't hear it. Did you hear that? Life is a shitstorm, and when it's raining shit, the best umbrella you can buy is art. How's that?
That's a good line.
It's a great line. Did you hear it at all? You didn't hear it, did you?
No, I didn't hear it. It's a great line.
Yeah. So that's my yeah. We only had it on one channel, folks. So I'm sorry about that. And out of that same movie is his term Moose Poop. It's a great movie, and I mentioned that movie to him, and he said that he loved that film, it's literally one of my it's my favorite Falk film. That and the In-Laws, which is another classic,
And you got, if nothing else, how about Colombo?
Well, Colombo, yeah, but I was never a big fan of Colombo.
No, I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some of the episodes because they play locally on one of these revival stations, But I was never a big fan of that, but I was a big fan of Falk's. I mean, I loved what he did, and things like Tune In Tomorrow and The In-Laws, he was just brilliant. Just brilliant. Also, I loved him in a film called The Great Race with Jack Lemmon, which is basically a huge cartoon. And
right, that was funny, yeah.
He plays the assistant, and he's just to Jack Lemmon, who's the bad guy. And he was a wonderful comedic actor. Well, anyway, I mentioned all these films of his that I loved, and they were the same ones he loved. They were the ones he wished lived after him, you know.
So that had to be a great interview.
Oh, he a lovely person. God, I loved him. He was so wonderful, and we got along so well. And he died a short time after that, you know. And I think a lot of people will remember Peter Falk because Colombo keeps getting shown.
It does. You got to make sure it's the ones in the 70s. Yeah. They did them in the 90s, and those suck. But
there's no All Hazel channel.
All Hazel.
You know, so you don't remember Shirley Booth, but Peter Falk will be remembered for a while. I think there's a point at which they're no longer remembered. I mean, there were people who were the biggest stars in the world, okay, that if you mention them today, anybody under 50 doesn't even know who they are. For instance, let me give you, who was the biggest star in the 40s? I think it was the 40s, yeah. Worldwide.
Might have been, I know for a while it was Mickey Rooney.
That's it. Biggest star in the world. How many people over 50 do you think know who Mickey Rooney is?
No one.
Exactly. And when I was told that he was the biggest star at that time, I didn't believe it. You know, but it was... so people who are big stars, I mean, if I I'll mention some names too. Theda Bara.
I believe she was silent film.
Yep, biggest star in silent films, one of the biggest stars ever. But you know, once they're no longer stars, Clara Bow, okay, who absolutely, I get a hard on when I watch Clara Bow. I mean, there's something very sexy about Clara Bow. But her career was, God, I think she made it when she was still a teenager, and her career was finished at 24, something like that. But at the time that she was big, she was the biggest star in the world.
Well, if you've got that kind of fame and lose it, that must be so depressing.
Well, she didn't like fame that much. It scared her. She was and then sound came in. Here was the problem. Sound came in. And actually, she had a good voice. It wasn't her voice. It was her fear of sound. She was literally known for doing a sound film once and then going up to the microphone and hitting it with her fists.
Wow.
Because sound just scared her so much. And she made a couple of really good sound films, but she had a problem with it. And then she was let go by her studio. And then she was brought back by 20th Century Fox, made a couple of pictures that were really quite good, and then she just gave up and went to Arizona and married her cowboy husband, her boyfriend. I'm trying to remember what his name was, but he ran for, I think it was either senator or governor of the state, and he was in politics. So she just kind of gave up and just was a housewife, raised kids, you know, all of that.
Well, some people don't like fame. I think it was Carrie Snodgrass that had a couple of huge films, the first two films, and then she kind of just quit.
Yeah. Well, the thing with Bo was eventually she wound up, I think, in New York, living in kind of a hovel. You know, I mean, this was one of the this was the It Girl. They named her the It Girl because there was a woman who wrote a book called It, meaning you have it,
mm-hmm.
that thing, You know, it was all about sex and sex being a sex symbol and so on. So they got her to do the movie It, so she became known as the It Girl. But no bigger star in her time than Clara Bow. And today, some people might know the name because it sounds silly, you know. That was her real name, by the way. So
it's a good name. Dana Carvey did a sitcom when he first started out with Mickey Rooney, and he said Mickey Rooney would walk around the set going, 1939, biggest star in the world.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, I've told this story before. I had a very wonderful producer named Christy Frazier, as you may remember.
Who was a goddess, yes. And
she was, and still is. In fact, we're going to see them in a couple of months upstate. But anyway, Christy, we were doing the show in Hollywood at the ABC studios. And a couple of nights earlier, I had been watching the Joan Rivers show. Remember when she had a show on Fox?
Yeah, the one that pissed Carson off.
It was, it turned out to be a disaster. But I watched her that night, and I was never a big fan of her in those days. But I watched her that night, and she had Mickey Rooney on. And Mickey Rooney came on the show and literally hijacked it. You know? Started telling all his stories, you know. If I just gotten to Judy Garland in time, she'd be alive today. You know, that kind of story.
Yeah.
And he's plugging his all his little projects and his 18-year-old girlfriend who he brings on with him. I mean, just a disaster. And I sat there watching this feeling so very sorry for Joan Rivers. My heart went out to Joan Rivers that, you know, how do you get out of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how she got out of it was time ran out. Lucky her, she only had an hour TV show. Now I'm doing the show in L.A. and I'm in the studio and I'm doing we got Bob Rubin in there and some other people. And all of a sudden I look at the control booth and the control room, and there is Mickey Rooney. And he's talking to Christy. And I went, Christy, do not make the biggest mistake of your producing career. And the next thing I know, the doors open and here comes Mickey Rooney. It was, I got to tell you, it was just absolute torture for me. You know, because he came in and he just hijacks the room. And I remember at that point, Rubin was sitting on a couch in back of Mickey Rooney with his head kind of just showing right over Mickey Rooney's shoulder. And as it's going on, he keeps giving me these looks like, oh my fucking God. It literally, I mean, I don't have a copy of it, I don't think, anywhere. It was the worst interview I've ever done because I couldn't do an interview.
I'd love to hear that.
You could not, you know. The only person that came close to that, and I was told never interview him, and I made the mistake and said, sure, I'll do it. I'd forgotten the advice, was Steve Allen. Because Steve Allen automatically would hijack an interview, completely hijack it, because he used to be a host on a TV show, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he knows how to be a host. So he takes over the job of being the host when he's a guest. And it was horrendous. That was in San Francisco. So those were people that, you know, quite frankly, I wish I had never interviewed, all right? But I did. And I'll have to live with it. Okay, give me a couple of more names while we got time.
Okay, I think he was a comedic actor. He died very young, 50. God, he died at 50. Jack Carson.
Jack Carson. Well, I know Jack Carson. I'm trying to tell you movies he was in, but I can't tell you. I mean, I know Jack Carson, and he was always he was always a with guy, you know, and sometimes he would have have star billing, but for the most part he was just, you know, he's everybody's best friend in movies and a wise guy.
Oh, but not a big star.
He was a name, okay, you know, and studios had him signed to them, and he was. You know, if you were to ask me what was good about him, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, nothing memorable.
Well, he was a true movie star in that, by force of personality, he did okay. You know, people wanted to see his movies just to see Jack Carson, not to see him play a character, but Jack Carson. Anyway, another name.
Victor Buono.
Victor Buono, big fat guy, gay. What was it? Come back. What was it? The one with Joan Crawford and Betty Davis.
Yes, scary as hell, that one.
Whatever happened to Baby Jane?
Baby Jane. Yeah, he died at 44.
And Victor Buono also wound up on Batman, playing King Tut.
Right.
And he did a lot of other stuff. I mean, he was around. And just recently, when they did the history, you know, this movie about the making of comeback of whatever happened to Baby Jane, and about Joan Crawford, about Betty Davis, Buono is portrayed as being gay. Yeah, so he was quite gay.
Okay, and a very interesting career. Died at 46. Montgomery Clift.
Well, yeah, he also gay. Again, another one.
Yeah, that's very common in the movies.
Yeah, but closeted gay. You know, no question about it, closeted. But he was, you know, he was a very big actor at the time. He was considered one of those very accomplished actors.
Right, good, like a tortured life, though, right?
Yeah, I think he was in Suddenly Last Summer with Elizabeth Taylor. He was in Elizabeth Taylor's last film. Not Elizabeth Taylor's last film. He was in Marilyn Monroe's last film, which was The Misfits.
One of my favorite movies, yeah.
And it was the next to last film for Montgomery Clift. He died a short time after that. And
also the last film for Clark Gable.
Last film for Clark Gable, yeah. So, you know. The only guy who survived that film was Eli Wallach.
It went on to be almost 100.
Yeah, I interviewed him when he was in his 90s, and a really nice guy. Really nice guy.
Okay.
Very historic. Yeah.
And I wanted, because you're the film, because my dad dial-up, I couldn't download the damn thing about. There's something about Stanley Kubrick. They found some interview where it kind of explains the last 15 minutes of 2001.
No.
Have you seen that? Yeah.
No.
Well, Google that, because I can't spend a half an hour to download it. But they found some interview where it kind of explains what the last 20 minutes of 2001 mean.
I can download that same thing in like 3 seconds.
I know.
Yeah. One of these days before you die.
When you get out here, you're gonna install me the high speed.
I've got an iPhone here for you. Everything. Did you ever ask about iPhone?
I haven't. I'm trying to get hold of Larry Stoll.
Okay, so you'll take forever on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I got to admit, one of my biggest laughs when I get on stage, if I just pull out my flip phone, people go hysterical.
Why do you like that flip phone?
It's a good phone.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to text now, but it takes, you got to hit the thing 3 times to get one letter.
Oh, God damn. So how old is the phone?
The phone's like 12 years old.
Oh, jeez almighty. God. Yeah, the most I've ever gone with a phone is like, 3 years. That's it. And then I got a new one. Yeah, so. Anyway.
Well, you always were Mr. Tech, so.
We've run out of time.
And these were fun today. I like these.
This is, of course. It's always fun with you, Larry. I like talking to you.
Well, I thought the last couple I was pretty boring, so I felt bad, and I was...
No, you're never boring, Larry. I enjoy conversation with you. It's the one thing I look forward to in life, that and my numb feet.
Well, you're one of the few smart people I still know, so I always love talking to you.
And now I have to walk down to the gym, which will be painful for me because my shoes hurt. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, say goodbye, Larry.
Bye-bye.
Celebrating 4 years of talk like you've never heard it before. This is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network.
And hello, everybody. How are you? I hope I'm sounding okay. Somebody says we have a little bit of an echo tonight, but who knows? Who knows? Anyway, we are using a newer system here, and I turned something off here, and that may have stopped the echo from happening. I don't know. I give up. I'm trying a new thing. It's called XSplit, and I'm using it to make the show work. Okay, and if it starts screwing up, I'll just stop the show and start it all over again. Okay. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Here we go. Open up, will you? Here we go. Okay. So I got to learn how to operate all this. I'm going to open up the Skype lines, and now we're going to hope this works, okay? Because this is a whole different deal. And I'm looking. My CPU usage is just fine. This eats up a little more what we call CPU. Hold on a sec. I'm not going to put on my shirt. What the hell? I'll stay in the T-shirt because it's a little warm in here tonight. Very humid in New York at the present time. Anyway, I've got the Skype going. See, we have the Skype picture here. Hold on a second. See, but it's going to look like that until somebody decides to call. So, and that should be you actually. Oh, and here comes Phil Meyer. Let's see. Okay, now let's see if it works. Here we go. There we are. Look, it worked.
Yeah.
Yeah, it worked.
I'm using the old mixer. Are you sure you're going through your main microphone and not the one on your camera?
Not the one on my camera?
Oh, now it sounds like your main microphone.
Wait a minute. Where were you listening?
I was listening on the feed from GabNet.
Okay, we'll listen to the feed from GabNet now. Do I sound like I'm coming through a speaker?
I can't, and because I got you on Skype.
Because my if I go to the audio here and see where the audio's coming in from, the audio's coming in from the a high definition device and not anything else. So there we go. Yeah. Microphone, high definition in. No, we seem to be fine.
Okay, no, it sounds okay now.
Are you listening on the air too, to see?
No.
Well, take a listen to the air and tell me.
If I do that, then I'll mess up the signal.
Well, that could be too. But
it sounds fine.
It does sound fine. Let me see here. Working fine. No more echo sound. Okay, I got rid of it by I think by closing something down. This is a whole new system I'm using here, so I don't know fully how it works.
Well, you got to get your $60 worth.
Yeah, let me get rid of that. Okay, all righty. Let me see here. We had a little flashing up at the top of the screen. That's a problem that they have that I can't do anything about. And the GPU is using up way too much power. Oh boy, this is kind of ridiculous. I don't know. I may have to shut down the video. Stay where you are. Shut down the video, and start up using my old system. GPU is like going nuts here.
Yeah, I'm using my old mixer. I sent the other one back to the guy I bought it from.
Yeah.
And I tried to order a new one today from Adorama, and when I go on their website, I have an Adorama credit card. So I wanted to use it because you get 12 months, no interest.
Yeah.
And so it's not showing up on the thing, so on the Adorama site. So now they had I called them. They escalated me to a manager. It'll take 2 days. It's a good thing this thing still works.
Well, you got the old one working, right?
Right. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Anyway, so I don't understand. I'm using up full GPU here. I don't get that, but my CPU is fine. I give up.
Yeah.
This new system is not working like I want it to, but we'll keep doing the show till it peters out, and then when it peters out, I'll just stop and we'll go to the other one. You know.
Did they have some help? Weren't you able to contact somebody on this new one?
Yeah. Well, I can, but I just don't understand. It says I'm at 99% GPU. That's my graphics processing unit. Okay.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem to be saying 100. And it doesn't seem to be stopping, and the picture's going out fine, and, you know.
Yeah.
So now all we need are some other people here. And also I'm able to frame the picture better, as people can look on the screen. And I even have a drop shadow behind me, behind my little screen.
Well, let me turn the audio down, and I'll look at it on my phone.
Yeah.
See what your thing looks like.
Yeah. Now it's normal. Yeah. Okay. I solved the problem. Whatever the problem was.
It's solved now.
Yeah. Yeah. But
all right.
This is eating up way too much. Well, it isn't using up a lot of CPU power. So, you know.
Yeah. All right.
But, you know, I did have to. I was sending it out also on Facebook at the same time, and I had to stop that because it was just eating up power like crazy. So I stopped that at the very beginning. So. Would have been nice if I could do it on both, you know. But
yeah. Weren't you able to do it on both with the OBS?
No. Can't. Here I could. If I had the power, if the machine had the power, I could do 2 or 3 different feeds at the same time. But you know, so I don't understand. I don't understand what this is. Highest load for XSplit. Related processes, highest load across GPU engines. Okay, well, I'm at 99%, but that means I'm still going out fine, and we're waiting for other people to call, so I can fill this screen up here and see how it works.
The feed looks great.
Yeah, the feed is absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, it's really high definition and
And if you look at my camera, for instance, if you look at look at that, see, and if you look at my camera, you know, I'm looking great too. You know, the high
it's a smaller picture.
Well, no, but in a moment you'll get it. It's coming up. I just switched to my camera so people could see it, and it looks really good. There you're holding up again.
Yeah.
And
well, it's
there, see, there's me now. See.
Yeah, now I see.
So I can, I'll go back to you. There we go. Here we go. We'll add Jeff Stein to the call. And here we go. Hello, Jeff.
Hey.
There we go. There's Jeff. There he is. Yeah, this is looking good. This actually looks good. And that lowered, for a short time, lowered my graphics processing unit. So more people call, we can lower the graphics processing unit. I guess it was because you were taking up the full screen, or it just said, hey, that guy's so ugly, this is a major load for us.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. But anyway, no, what it is that I'm trying this new thing because it's one that may work with the new Skype. And I just want to see if I can make it work, and it works smoothly, fine. The picture looks better than we ever had with OBS, however.
You know, I'm looking at Jeff on the Skype, and I'm looking at him on my phone on the feed.
Yeah.
And the phone feed is so clear, so high def. It's better than Skype, and I have a really good monitor.
Yeah. Well, this is all Skype we're doing here. How are you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing good.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying the warm weather, except it's raining all day long.
Yeah, I heard the East Coast is getting flooded, and the West Coast is burning.
And it's humid. Yeah. It's humid here right now.
It's humid. It's rainy. It's it's 72 degrees, but all day long. But it's not fun. Wow. And we were going to go up to Maine, and we talked to our lobster fisherman up there who picks us up, and he goes, "Don't come." He says, "It's so bad out here." He says, "We won't even let you out there."
Okay, more people call. Come on, more people. Need more people. More people.
Yeah, right. Somebody else.
Yeah, I want to see what happens when we start filling up the screen a little bit here. But as you can see, I have it masked off very nicely now, and it's the thing actually presents a better overall presentation.
Yeah. So what would you need in the computer to be able to?
I would need a new computer with a higher central processing unit, a more powerful processing unit.
With a little mini Mac have enough, because it's
because I need a PC to do this.
Oh.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You know, we're fine now. We're doing just.
Phil's picture is much cleaner than yours. I don't know why.
Than mine?
Yeah.
Well,
that's because I have a cheaper camera.
Doesn't matter, because nobody sees the picture that you see is not my best camera. The picture that everybody else
about the on Skype?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
So
yeah, but
anyway,
on the signal that you're putting out,
it's funny. Whenever we talk tech on any level, we start to get listeners. I don't know why. When I say, and I've got this problem with this new piece of equipment that I bought, and blah blah blah, and it goes, and the numbers go up. Go figure.
Yeah, I just don't see how the numbers change like that. It's not like people are fooling around going on down and up and down the dial. You know, it's like somebody tunes in. They're there for a while.
So anyway, you know my latest medical problem?
Feet.
Well, the feet is still there. Yeah, and I got the back problem, the backache. Yeah. But now I've got a carbuncle.
What's that?
You know what those are? They're not like boils. They're like a bunch of little boils all in a circle.
Oh, could that be? What is it? That's the disease du jour now.
No, streptococcal infection. It could be, but it's probably not.
It's got to do with chicken pox. They call it. Adults get it.
No, you're talking. No. This is not shingles.
Shingles, that's it.
I've had my shingles shot, so I don't.
But sometimes shingles looks like that, where you got little bumps within it.
I had shingles. I had it by my eye. I almost lost my eyesight. Shingles. When I always heard about shingles, I always thought it was like something you got in your ass. Doesn't that sound like something you get in your ass?
Get everything in your ass. Ask that guy that calls the show, Brian.
Oh, Brian. Oh, what?
Brian, everything he says is in his ass.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, I thought you were mentioning Steve last night. It was really a call that made me very happy.
I'm sure it did.
Really?
I haven't talked to you in a long time, Alex. Here's what's been wrong with me, and here's who's died since I talked to you last.
Yeah, it was uplifting. He's a nice guy.
He's a very
I like
nice
him,
guy.
but it's kind of like watching paint dry, and it was painful.
Yeah. And then we had pictures from Manila last night, which was nice. If
on a Russian phone.
If you go on vacation, take your phone out. Well, of course, the trouble is, him using that bandwidth, I guess he's using a local phone. I guess that's why he's using that Russian Alcatel or whatever.
No, he has that. That's his phone. And I asked him, I said, are the buttons in Russian? You know, because Russian alphabet's different. And he says yes. So the instructions, the buttons, everything, Russian.
Well, yeah, but I'm just wondering what happens like when you go overseas and you use your phone outdoors and you're using airtime. It's very expensive.
I mean, like roaming, yeah.
Roaming is very expensive.
You get a card, you know, you can get a...
No, but you get a card, but still, you can buy ahead of time before you go, and you get a certain amount of minutes. But you don't get a lot of bandwidth for that. You know, it eats it up like crazy if you use it outside. Thank God for Wi-Fi, because most hotels you'll go into or restaurants you'll go into in Europe have Wi-Fi, and you use that. So when I'm in Europe, I turn off my cellular. And if I can use the Wi-Fi, I use the Wi-Fi. And now there's a thing on the newest iPhone that is making calls through Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Where you don't have to do it through cellular.
Yeah.
So you can use your Wi-Fi system to call. And,
it's over IP.
So I imagine, you know, if you're in Europe, I mean, a good way of using it also is use Skype as well. That doesn't cost anything, you know, as long as it still works.
I years ago, I think I went to the Caribbean or something like that, and the roaming charges, I didn't even make a phone call. My phone updated or you know, something happened, and it was like $180 worth of charges.
Really?
Yeah, and I had to pay it.
Wow.
And it was some local company that took over when you got off the plane, and it ripped you off for a lot of money.
Okay, is anybody else going to call? Come on. I need you to call. I want you to call because I'm testing out this new system tonight, and I need to put it to its full paces.
So, Jeff, tell us where are you going to go in Italy? You have anything planned? Or?
Oh yeah, it's an interesting plan because we kind of put it together. You see, I've got 4 granddaughters. Okay, and 2 kids with either the husband or the wife or whatever. So we're all going with
Sounds like 10 people between you.
Oh, yeah. And then I also have another son who doesn't have any kids. He has a...
Oh, so you got 12 to corral. Yeah.
So, I don't know. We put it together.
Wait a minute. Who's paying for this?
Oh, that's not allowed to tell you.
It's Grandpa Jeff.
Is it Grandpa Jeff is paying for all of this?
They're sharing. Let's put this way.
Okay.
I'm negotiating better than Trump does.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's going to be pretty good. We're going to Rome, and we're going to Tuscany, and what's the place where everything's in the water?
Oh, Venice.
Venice.
Where everything's in the water.
Venice.
Yeah.
So anyway, it'll be kind of fun, and we've really got the hotels organized and getting us picked up at the airport and all this kind of stuff. Yeah. There's always a company that I've known about in New York that advertised about going to Italy.
Perillo,
yeah, and that's who we called, and they're pretty well organized.
Yeah, no, Italy's what they specialize in.
Yeah, so
wow,
it'll be fun. I think it'll be a big kick for the kids.
Now listen, if people
from
don't
10 to 15,
if people don't start calling, I'm going to show pictures of my vacations. And and
So you want to know what shirt I'm gonna wear? Right?
Exactly. Oh, okay.
That sounds wonderful. I worked in Italy a couple of times. I represented some furniture lines, and in Milan they have a show every year called Salon de Mobile, and so I worked in the booth, and I spent a couple weeks in Italy every year, and it was wonderful. It was in September. It was just before the fashion show, so things were really hopping, and then I would go around. I go to Switzerland, or I'd go, just travel around. And one place I really liked was Capri. I don't know how many days you can actually spend there, but it was so beautiful. It was so 1950s.
I saw Beyonce is there on vacation. I don't know how I know that. I don't know much of anything else, but I know that Beyonce and her husband, Kenny G, whoever she's married to, are vacationing in Capri.
Yeah, well, it's just a beautiful spot. You got those old Fiat 600s with the little canopy tops, and if you take there's only two major cities. Well, the major cities, I think it's called Anacapa, and another. But there's these buses, and the cliffs are maybe 1,000 feet. And these buses are within half an inch of going over the edge of the cliff. I also went into the Blue Grotto
this is you would think, folks, that this is a very boring conversation, and we would have a better one if more people were to call. How come when I beg, none of the regulars call? I
don't know. I know you're getting out.
Anyway, all I'm saying is the program is just really deathly dull, because we're talking about our vacations, and there's nothing more boring you can talk about, and the numbers keep climbing.
Well, maybe it isn't that boring.
Maybe what people want on here is what I've often talked about. Is
the only vacation that isn't boring is yours.
But, like slow TV.
Yeah.
This is a problem. I see. There's that little when somebody starts talking and that little thing comes up with the screen capture on it. It shows up here on the screen.
Screen capture. Is that on the new Skype?
Yeah.
Okay, I haven't converted yet.
Yeah. No. It's on here. People look up in the upper right-hand corner. You can see Phil.
Oh, I see.
That?
Yeah. So there's another little picture of me.
Yeah, and I don't know how to do away with that.
You probably have to adjust the size of the picture.
No,
or something.
it's probably something in Skype that I will have to do. But it should, it shouldn't. Oops! I just made you full size. Well, that's not good.
It'll be a little while till I see it. I'm still seeing this.
Yeah. But no, now I've got you gone. I don't know. Anyway. I'll have to figure that out later.
Says I'm listening while
I just changed it.
Yeah, put up with it, folks. Anyway,
Patrick just wrote me. He says he's listening, but he's taking a crap, so it's going to take him a little while to get.
Okay. Well, when you're through with your crap, Patrick,
it'll take him a long time.
In fact, Skype us on your phone from the toilet. We've never had anybody on the can on this program. By the way, we've got really fairly decent numbers tonight. Keep talking about your boring vacation.
Wild. Okay, let's see.
I'll tell you about the time I went to Corpus Christi, Texas.
That's boring. One time I'm working in Milan, and I decided I needed to lose weight, and and somebody said pasta fagioli.
Pasta fagioli?
Yeah. You'll is all protein. So I ate. I'm going to these great restaurants, and I'm ordering this pasta fagioli.
Pasta fagioli, it's called.
Yeah. Well, it's fattening. I gained about 8 or 10 pounds. It was.
How did you know? How did you know?
The fold.
See, if you would just lose weight, your arteries won't clog any longer. Just got another listener. God, this is nuts. You know. But anyway, the great fear I have about vacation, we haven't taken one in years, so it's time for me to do it. She keeps begging me, and I figure I better dig into the savings and do it.
I thought you had miles.
And I have miles, but then I don't have hotels. I don't have rental cars.
Take the train.
Then I got to buy a ticket on the train. It's going to cost money.
Not so bad.
Like Ass Pops over here, who's taken his entire family to Europe. How much it's costing him?
It's the same as a bar mitzvah.
And I can't believe he isn't on a fixed income. You know?
Yeah, and expensive.
They all work.
Yeah.
A lot of money. They all work. They can pay for this.
Well, anyway. We stopped talking about vacations. Keep going. The numbers went down a little bit. You know.
Well, so Alex, if had you thought about where you wanted to go? Do you want to go someplace different? You're going to go to Australia. You're going to, you know.
Spain.
We're probably going to go to Spain.
Yeah,
you know, probably go to Spain.
That's one of the better deals, and it's a beautiful spot. You know, it's beautiful.
Beautiful country. The only problem is I used to go to, of course, Ibiza before it became trendy, and I loved it. Just loved it. But I don't want to go back there now because it's just got to be a fucking hellhole. I mean,
I don't know.
Yes.
You ever go to Sardinia?
What?
Sardinia. It's off the coast of Italy.
Why should I?
It's beautiful. It's the beaches are gorgeous. It's just relaxing. And there's good places to eat. I was on a cruise ship. Stopped in Sardinia. I had a great time.
Well, anyway, it was. I don't know. We're probably going to go to Spain. I would imagine, and go down the coast. Go down to Pamplona, which you probably never heard of Pamplona, but
Pamplona?
No, Pamplona, which is
that's women wear when they have their period.
Pamplona, which is every year they have the running of the Bull Dykes, so it's
yeah.
That's one of the oldest jokes I have. I just thought I'd recycle for your entertainment, folks.
No one else has heard that before.
Yeah.
So, Spain is nice.
I
like Barcelona.
Here comes Chris Ritter. Let's see how Chris looks.
Has Marty ever been to Barcelona?
No, I don't think she's been to Barcelona.
Oh, then that will be a great trip.
And who is this calling? We have Chris is calling. Hello, Chris.
Hello, how are you?
No.
Yeah, Chris, turn on your camera. And who's phoning us by telephone?
It's Steve.
Steve. Oh, from a different phone. From a different phone than last night.
No, same phone. It's just my number is. I got a new number about a month ago, a little more than a month ago.
Because I usually rename it so I know who's there, and so I put in your name, and okay, so now it says Steve on the phone. See, everybody can see that.
Cool.
Yeah.
I just put you on. I think it was the first time I just tested. Watching. I did the YouTube live. I don't think I ever did that before. It looks good. It's pretty good.
Oh, it looks great, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks really fine.
It's really good.
A guy with only 25% vision.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I could hold. Yeah, I got the phone like a foot away from my eyes. I could, it's like I could see. I like the blue. I like the GabNet, the blue. That's the thing, where it says GabNet Live. I like it. Looks good.
I mean, the lettering at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, the graphic. Yeah, it's nice. It looks good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got 5 now.
I've got
is that
5.
doing anything?
I've got 4.
Well, 4 plus you.
Plus me. Let's say hello to Mr. Ritter. Hello, Chris. How are you?
Good. How are you, Alex?
Where are you calling from now? This time,
Las Vegas.
Oh, you're back in Vegas.
114, I heard.
Feels like it. Yeah.
It feels like it. No, the
Yeah.
feels like
Palm
usually they go.
Palm
It's
Springs was 119.
Wow.
This week, so
Death Valley,
Mhm.
123.
Ouch.
They
someone
don't
just died there hiking. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't call it Death Valley for nothing.
No.
You know.
Lives
What,
up there.
What were you going to say?
I know that's near. That's in the Los Angeles area. Where is that in proportion to Los Angeles? I guess it's obviously south, right?
It's
no, it's
northeast of
Yeah.
Los
Is
Angeles.
it? Oh,
Of
okay.
Los Angeles.
Oh,
yeah, but
Okay,
it is, I think, the lowest point in the United States, landfall in the United States. I don't know how many feet it is below sea level, but it's and that's why it gets so hot, and it's a big basin, and it's it always gets hot there, but 123 is that's melting plastic time.
yeah, that's ridiculous. You know what I always remember, Alex? I love the story about the meeting when you had the sponsors when you were at WPLJ, and the one with would you talk with a guy about Yoo-Hoo?
Well, I told that story a couple of nights ago. I keep recycling that story.
Oh, did you? Oh, God.
And the guy who was Yogi Berra was with me.
Yeah.
And the guy who
What the fuck is in this shit?
The guy who you remember the story.
I loved it.
Yeah, this
great.
guy's telling me I wanted to invent a product that you could bury in the sands of the Sahara Desert for 100 years and it wouldn't spoil. And he said, and that's what Yoo-Hoo is. And I just looked at him and said, what's in this shit?
Didn't Ramble bury that stuff in the desert to run his tanks on when he was?
I have no idea.
That was gasoline.
Yeah, but we've been joined by James Lee. Hello, James.
Oh,
James, are you there?
I don't. I don't see him popping up. But I'm interested in knowing what's going on in his home state.
Yeah, we haven't seen from him.
Yeah, well, here he comes. Oh, no, he's gone. Well,
there he is.
We tried, no, you're looking at the replay, which is about a minute behind or something like that. Yeah. So it's like 114 degrees in Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
So, but everything's air conditioned there, right?
And it's dry heat, right?
Yeah.
I don't give me that shit. But it's dry heat. Yeah, sure. It's 114 degrees, dry or
still
wet.
Too hot. But I'll tell you one thing. I was just going to say, you sure as hell wouldn't want it to be 114 and humid. I mean, I know people say dry heat, and you're right. It's still too hot. And I know. I lived in New Mexico for 5 years. Yeah. It's horrible when it's that hot.
Gee, why is James Lee is trying to call us, and I answered the phone.
Can you call him?
You aren't there, are you, James? Huh?
No.
Yeah, I could call him. Yeah. Well, I can add to group and call on Skype and see if he picks up. Who knows? We'll see if he picks up. Could be he will. Could be he won't.
So, Chris, I was talking to a friend recommending a series on Showtime for one of your compadres in Las Vegas, Andrew Dice Clay. Do you see him running around, or is he pretty private?
He's on a bit of a circuit. He played Big Bear, actually. They had him play the local rock and roll venue that seats about 300, and they were selling champagne booths. I don't think it worked out for everybody. But now they're back just having rock bands and Ted Nugent up there and such. So,
oh God!
But Dice Clay, I don't know. He might book some. He books some venues in Vegas, but not the big stuff. He has a loyal following.
Yeah.
So anyway, is Las Vegas politically conservative?
It's a mix of all other parts of the country. It's kind of purple, really, and everyone has a Republican neighbor and everyone has a liberal neighbor, it seems. And in our little district in the Northwest, there's a lot of horses, and it has a red flavor up here. Our councilwoman, she takes Christmas pictures with holding guns, and her babies are holding guns, and she's always arm in arm with Trump and whoever else she can find. So our little district seems to be represented well by the red state faction. But
I thought
we're rural out here, you know.
I thought that in Las Vegas itself, because there were so many workers that work in the casinos at are employees, that it was a very blue area.
Yeah, it is. Overall, it's turning into a purple state, blue state. This is the only state in the country that voted for Bush, Obama, and then Hillary Clinton. It didn't go back after switching to Obama. But basically, Vegas is a pro-business place. So we've had Oscar Goodman and his wife as the mayor, and they're very pro-business, pro-casino. But the casino business is probably off about 28% since 2006. But there's still plenty of people coming in, spending money, and spending less money, but they're still coming in droves, 29 million people a year.
Why is the casino business off?
Yeah, what do you attribute that to?
I think people have, baseball attendance is off since 2007, a great deal. I think people have less money, and they're less likely to spend it on stupid things. They're a little better at math. They're less likely to overspend on hotel and everything. And also, they're doing this thing called resort fees. It's a hidden fee when you check into a hotel. And I think that's horrible. And they charge for parking now, and I think that's going to have a long-term negative, because when a guy like Phil drops $10,000, he doesn't want to have to wait for the valet to bring his car up. He's going to want a pretty girl to hand him the keys and say, "We'll see you tomorrow," right? So,
believe me, I don't drop 10 G's on nothing.
Right. And of course, the shooting seems to have scared some people, too.
Well, the worst time I've ever had to spend was 5 days in Las Vegas. 3 days was fine. 5 days, forget it. Let me see here. Here comes James Lee. Hello, James. Are you there? James?
Yeah. Hang on,
there he is, ladies and gentlemen.
How you doing?
Good. How you doing, James?
Finally got through. Sorry.
Wipe that volcanic ash out of your eyes there.
Yeah, they used to say wipe the shit out of my eyes so I could catch some fly balls.
He's calling us from Hawaii. We haven't heard from Renee recently, so we don't know whether she's alive or dead.
There's a lot of fog blowing around, especially over towards her area. Your eyes water pretty bad out there.
Yeah.
And she's on the Mackay side, so she's getting it right up there above the ocean.
Yeah.
Oh.
That stuff is bad news. So, and, it scratches your windshield. You lose your paint job on your vehicle. That ash is really crap.
So, that Renee offered a number of times to reach out to you, that if you needed to come over to her place, especially with your animals, to do that. Now it looks like Renee may be going to yours.
That's why I'm on the Hamakua side, the other side of the island. Yeah, the west side of the island, I remember when we scouted out the area, they had a fog problem already starting, and that's why we didn't move over there. Even though it has all the fancy hotels and all the high-income stuff and golf courses.
Yeah. You
can't play golf if you can't see the place.
Wow.
I couldn't play golf even if I could see the place.
How about politics in your neck of the woods? Is it conservative in Hawaii?
It's all about family, Mr. Bennett. It's all about family in Hawaii. It has nothing to do with whether you're a progressive, liberal, or conservative.
Okay, but when you say
Hawaii remember we were a territory until 1960. So there are people here who are still alive who remember when everything came from the territorial governor.
Yeah.
And to a certain extent, that extends today. All our people that we have in Congress, Brian Schatz, Colleen Hanabusa, all those folks, They're all professional politicians. They're like what do you call it? The little Energizer Bunny. They keep running and running.
Wow.
Was that the name before it was governed? That was the name of the territory.
Well, it was the territory of Hawaii until 1960.
Right. Okay.
And the governor was appointed by
when you
Washington.
say it's
everything came from Washington, and even though it became a state, who took over the reins of power? All the folks that were all the territorial employees. They had the expertise. They lived here already. They knew the system. They set up the civil service system. Excuse me, human resources. Pardon me. They set up state government, and it's all about who you know and who's your family, who's your daddy, Mr. Bennett. What did your dad do? What did your mom do? What did your aunt do?
Well, let's see. Mom was a hooker and Dad was a dope dealer. Now, how would that sit in Hawaii?
What was that? That was the Tom Lear. I was. You reminded me of the Tom Lear, the old dope peddler.
Yeah.
Oh, Larry.
Yeah, Tom Lear. Yeah. But anyway, the reason I ask is, we are led to believe, that this country is more conservative and so on than it's ever been, and it really isn't. I think it's more in the middle. I think it's more independent than it is anything else. And if you're going to win an election, those are the people you have to go after, not your base.
Well, the left is starting to go further left with Bernie Sanders and that lady from your area, the good-looking one that's a communist. I forgot her name already.
Oh, you mean the one that's running for Congress?
Well, she's a shoo-in, I think. She's her district would never vote a Republican.
Well, she's a very attractive-looking woman.
Extremely attractive.
And she's extremely bright, and I think she has all the qualifications for being a congressperson. You may experience performance issues, it says here. High CPU detected.
I've had that too, but then I use Viagra.
So at any moment, folks, this program could blow. All right, it blows all the time anyway. But
I was going to say it blows. No, I have a question about speaking of areas and geography. I never researched this or never remembered learning why in New York. Why is Governor's Island called Governor's Island?
I have no idea.
Neither do I. I never even thought about it. What's that?
Rikers Island has got cheap real estate.
Yeah.
You can stay there for free.
Yeah.
I think Governor's Island had cattle on it at one point in time in the early days, and
probably
And I think it was government land even kind of early, and probably the guy who became the governor probably owned it or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
but I believe there's a rumor that there are underground driving tubes to get there that only the public doesn't really have access to if they need to get there. And I think that's where Reagan watched I think that's where they watched the fireworks from and all the Statue of Liberty from. That's
1776.
Yep, and just remember it's Regan. It's not Reagan.
Regan, right?
Mm-hmm. Is it Regan and not Reagan?
Yes.
I've been mispronouncing it for 30-some-odd years.
Me too.
Well, no, I mean, that was what they did, but that was,
No, his name, originally, wait a minute, his name was originally Regan.
Yeah.
And he started pronouncing it Reagan because Regan is Irish.
Oh.
And he didn't
that was it.
And he didn't want to sound ethnic, so he said it's Reagan.
Yeah.
And that's why he took the name Reagan. Because he didn't want to sound Irish, because the Irish were an anathema or whatever, to the voting public.
Yeah. Was that during his acting days that he adopted the different pronunciation?
I imagine that's what happened. Yeah.
Yeah, later. I think later, and I think earlier because he was Reagan, and then I think it was sometime during his acting that he changed. Yeah.
Well, he changed things all the time, including his political affiliation.
That's right.
One time, in fact, he was a communist.
Yep.
You know, and then he turned tail on everybody at the House Un-American Activities Subcommittee hearing, and then he ruined the Screen Actors Guild because his paymasters was the mob. He was a terrible person. I don't know where this wonderful idolization of
I don't either. I don't know.
Well, he got a bum deal from the GOP when who won the GOP nomination, and Reagan lost a couple of times, and I guess he had some fights with Rockefeller and a few others that he was considered a sort of a fringe candidate, and you know.
What's interesting in Vegas is there's a Republican candidate marketing himself as a Ronald Reagan Republican instead of a Donald Trump Republican, because I think he feels there's a lot more popularity in that, and that distances himself, and it helps Republicans get a second wave in case Trump sinks all their boats. You know,
it's funny that there's a Blackburn, Marsha Blackburn. I think she's running for, I believe, a Senate position. She was in the Congress, and she has been associating her ideals with Trump. And at his
sorry about that. My window's open. There's a train track like right behind my.
Yeah,
it's gone. It went through.
Well, you're blind, not deaf.
Well, they like to do that in the middle of the night to wake everybody up, right?
Yeah. Well, if you like trains.
Yeah, I feel like I'm in like Streetcar Named Desire or something, you know. The thing going, but you know. Oh,
yeah. Anyway, so what's happening in the news? Anything that's
Pompeo was being interviewed today, and he wasn't giving up much. They kept grilling him about his what happened in the 2 hours that Trump met with Putin.
Yeah, but he wasn't there, so how does he know?
Well, he says that he was fully briefed by Trump, and so they try to ask him what he was told, and he says, "Hey, I'm not going to tell you. It was, a private meeting." And
well, I wonder who made that a private meeting. One party.
There was other private meetings between other presidents in the past.
No, but why in this particular case? I mean, who asked for it to be a private meeting?
I thought Trump did. And so far it's private. Nobody has dropped dime on what transpired.
Or was it Putin that wanted it private?
I'm not sure.
I guess when you're going to pull out the P pictures, you want to make it private.
Yeah. Well, they've determined that all of those that whole dossier was bunk.
Who?
Who
decided?
It was that counsel that was appointed to investigate. Now I can't remember the guy's name or what the investigation was. It was called the IGG or IDG.
Yeah, but
like
I think they've been called to account too, as being. Yeah.
And so anyway, after much investigation, they found out not only was that dossier financed by the DNC, it was also blatantly.
How many here actually, with a show of hands, actually believe that Trump got peed on or peed on somebody? Would you just raise your hands? See, even
it won't work with me, but I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know if I think he did. I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't. If he wasn't such a fucking liar about everything, I think I could put up with some of this shit,
Yeah, I know.
But he lies about virtually everything, And everybody has gotten to the point where they go, oh, well, that's Trump. Trump lies. Wait a minute. Trump is the president of the United States. He is the standard bearer for our country. He is the moral center of our country.
No, he's not.
Well, he's
never.
No, I don't think so.
The president has always been expected to have certain moral character that he passes on to the rest of the country.
Well, I guess he's like football players now, or these these new athletes. They don't seem to be the moral compass anymore. Although in the old days, Mickey Mantle probably wasn't either. He was just a drunk. But
yeah, right. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I always love the way they say, that sports figures were an example to the youth, and Babe Ruth, hookers and booze.
Yeah.
Did you see the Ted Williams story on PBS the other night?
No.
That was good. They showed him warts and all.
And what did they say about Ted Williams? He was an alcoholic, wasn't he?
No, he was a great hitter, but he had a lousy personality. Remember, he used to spit on the fans.
Oh.
Yeah, he would spit. Yeah,
he had a beautiful swing. As a lefty, the way he could hit, but he was straight up. He never tipped his hat.
And you guys complain about Trump.
Ted Williams, he'd cuss you out.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Ted Williams was only a baseball player. Trump's the president, for God's sake. Come on.
Well, we're talking about the moral compass, and I don't think it's fair that anyone be held to the moral compass anymore, because there is no moral compass.
Oh, there isn't? There is in my life. I live by certain moral standards. I think that the people here...
those you have to pick for your own. That's your own decision. But looking towards a sports figure or looking towards a current president, that doesn't exist. We might as well just be, realists and
I see what you mean in a way. I think personally we have the moral compass, a lot of us, but I think, a lot of people just don't care anymore.
Well, I'll tell you what we've lost. Okay.
The internet has taken it away from us. In closed cars has taken it away from us. Because all we have is road rage. Yesterday, some guy is on the BART train and stabs 2 women, kills an 18-year-old. Didn't even know them.
Really? Oh, wow.
Well,
the BART station.
No, I think what the problem is, and Trump is the leader in this, and it is, we have lost any sense of civility on both sides, on everybody. Mm-hmm. Everybody feels all bets are off, and we can do and say anything we want to, and he has created that atmosphere.
I don't think we can blame him. I just think he's a mirror of that atmosphere that has been that way for a long time.
I'm trying to remember who.
I think you're right, but I think he amplifies it. I mean, he instills it in people. He is. He's a guiding light, even though he's no guiding light for me. But he represents something. He's the president,
if white trash and Republicans and things like that are influenced by Trump, what is influencing the people on the other side of the aisle that don't respect Trump, and why are they acting the way that they do?
Because wait a minute, hold on a second. Years ago, I interviewed. And I'm trying to remember his name now. He was one of the world's greatest historians of things. I'm trying to remember what was his name. He wrote a book called The Elephant Man. It was about he wrote this book, and in fact, it's an interesting story. I had a group of people who I had him on the show, and I said, God, this would make a great movie. And he said, yeah. I said, give me all your information. Let me see if I can get some people to option this thing. And I got a couple of guys together who were biggies in the business. And they said, great story, let's option it. And they optioned it. And peddled it around Hollywood for the better part of 2 years, with me as one of their partners, and no studio would pick it up. They all turned it down. Well, it turned out that eventually Mel Brooks put the film out with Anthony Hopkins, directed by David Lynch, and it turned out that really the only part of this book that really he owned was his history, his own personal history of what he knew about the situation. The centerpiece in the book were the diaries of the Elephant Man. So somebody just said, well, we just take the diaries, we don't have to pay for the rights to the book, and we'll make the movie, and that's exactly what happened. But the point was that what I remember in that interview, I said to him, how are mores and how are fashions dictated, for instance, to a society at any given time? And he said, usually by the king or queen who is in power. If he wears big collars, then everybody wears big collars, you know. And I said, well, we don't have that in this country. He said, oh, yes, we do. Our royalty are movie stars, presidents, and so on. And they influence the morality, the fashions, and everything else of the times. And that's exactly what happened with Trump. Because he has lowered the standard of civility, everybody feels it's okay to lower the standard of civility.
I always look at that. Like, you remember the story, The Emperor Has No Clothes? You know, you would think that they're setting the standard, but people are just falling in lockstep, seeing what isn't there, you know, based on The Emperor Has No Clothes. Chris had his hand up, and then James Lee. And then
I'm just going to have to back off right now. It's getting a little rainy over here, gentlemen. So, aloha, and great chatting with you, and knowing you got a good signal with Skype coming in here to the islands, almost 4,000 miles away from you
James,
guys.
We're really glad you're okay. It looks like everything's fine.
Well, you know, we get those 5.3 shakers every morning around 3 or 4 in the morning when the Halimama crater tends to collapse, and there's a good jolt that we feel. Not a rolling jolt, it's just a hard jolt for about a split second.
So you don't need an alarm clock?
No, it rocks you on the bed.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I want to say goodbye to your dog, too.
Okay, yeah, good. Yeah, and we're all checking our insurance policies, too.
Good. Thanks for calling, James. We enjoy having you on the program when you call.
Okay, take care.
James Lee's in Hawaii, ladies and
Chris,
gentlemen.
And then you had Jeff.
Yeah. First, Chris. Yes, Chris.
Well, speaking about social mores and how they influence people and politicians, there's a theory comedy writers I've told to, and I think Saturday marks the 40-year anniversary of Animal House, and I think your friend was behind that, Kenny?
Doug Kenny. Yeah.
Doug Kenny, and if you really look at Animal House, watch it again, it seems to have inspired a group of the type of politicians we vote for, because Donald Trump is kind of like Bluto. He eats like a pig. He leers at women. He goes up the ladder, and we voted for Trump as a country. And at the end of that movie, what happens? He drives off with a girl he kind of raped, and he's Senator John Blutarski. You know, that was his coda. And then you look at Mitt Romney, and he's kind of an otter, and Bill Clinton fits right in there, and Chris Christie is Flounder, and go down the line.
I'm glad to meet you. Who is that one?
What?
Glad to meet you. Yeah, and John McCain is D-Day on the motorcycle, kind of the badass, and so basically, I think we should blame Doug Kenny for all this. And Republicans tend to get things 40 years late, you know, and back then they were the liberals, and now they're the conservatives. Delta House is now a conservative. It's the new Republicans in a way.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And now the liberals are Dean Wormer, and they're all uptight, and and it's gone crazy, flip flopped. So.
Well, you know, how come the liberals seem to always take the side of criminals and miscreants and?
I think Republicans do a pretty good job of that as well, don't they?
Oh yeah.
Well,
whoever cuts them a check, they'll cover. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's true of any politician. That's why they call it a swamp.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you know, George W. Bush, Bill Clinton, and Donald Trump, they were all born the same summer, the same year. It was a bumper crop of future presidents. Well, they were formed by the same culture in a way, you know. Yeah. They're all the same age.
Who? Clinton?
Where Trump The W and Clinton. Okay.
They were all born the same summer.
Really?
Wow.
Really? All the same age. Wow.
Hmm.
So really, basically, their mores and morality and so on. I mean, we always talk about what a pussy hound Clinton was, you know, and a lot of that was because of the times. You know, you were allowed to be a pussy hound, and you were somewhat expected to be a pussy hound. Jeff, you had your hand up earlier.
Yeah, I was going to say that the one thing we haven't mentioned about Trump is the fact that he was a believed billionaire,
yeah.
And I think a lot of people, before he became president, was recognized as a billionaire. Yeah, a lot of people were negative on it, but he did a very good job of convincing the world that he was a very successful guy.
His brand. He was building a brand.
Yeah. It's kind of funny because a lot of the New Yorkers realized what a sleazeball he was forever.
Yeah. He was from Queens. You know, of course.
Yeah. And I mean, it wasn't that unusual that somebody who was in the financial business of building and stuff like that were sleazy people. That's not that unique, is it? For me.
Yeah, you go to bed with dogs, you wake up with fleas. You know?
I think Trump, basically, if you look at it, he brought New York City-style politics to Washington. Yeah. And New York City is a very international city, and Trump is a very global businessman. And I think there's the elite people in New York City, they really want the city to run well, but they all seem to realize you have to break rules to make the city run well. You have to break the laws that are on the books. And here you have a guy who prides himself on cutting through red tape. And I think that's part of his appeal to Republicans. They think this guy will cut through red tape, even though he's probably giving himself a way too nice a cut of the business, you know. And he's not results oriented. He's, you know, he's there for his own poker hall, not for everyone's. But
you know, you say that, but you know, I really wonder. You know, there's so much scrutiny on him. What's he taken? You know,
I'll give you a good example.
He's building his brand.
How about?
I think his brand's been hurt.
How about the fact that he's building a hotel or something, and I'm trying to remember where, like Malaysia or someplace like that, and the Chinese are giving him money for it.
Well, he has a corporation.
Wait a minute. Hold on a second.
Separate entity.
No, it's not a separate entity.
Yeah,
he never divested himself. He never divested himself or put all his holdings in a blind trust, and so therefore he is still involved in those businesses.
But I don't think he's involved in the day-to-day decisions.
He may not be involved in the day-to-day decisions because he has not put it in a blind trust. He is involved.
Yes. Now, it's been a tradition to put things in a blind trust.
And the reason is so that when you make decisions, you don't make them for your own benefit.
Well, I don't know that the things that he's doing are for his own benefit, like trying to denuclearize the Korean Peninsula.
How are we doing on that one?
Well, according to Pompeo, they're much better than the last two presidents.
Well, much better is that you went across the 39th parallel. What is it? What's the parallel there? And went and talked to somebody. So fucking what? If it doesn't come to anything, you're blowing smoke up your own ass.
That's how it starts. It starts with a conversation.
The president has already told me, because I listen on TV and he's on there every 10 minutes, and he said, "Whoa, man, we solved all of the problems in North Korea already. That the meeting and everything was absolutely successful, perfect, and anything we needed, it's already in the operation right now."
They haven't even returned. They haven't started to return those bodies yet. or remains. The bodies are since long decomposed.
Yeah. Well, they returned the prisoners.
No. Forget that. Guy said we got a concession. The North Koreans are sending back the remains of American military.
Dead.
And I mean, these bones have got to be 50 years old, right? But so far, zilch, nothing.
You know, they said they would. And isn't that a real positive step?
Is that enough?
Oh yeah, and wait a minute. And wait a minute. This is a government. This is a government we should trust.
Yes.
Isn't it amazing how he trusts governments that are untrustworthy, like the Soviets, like North Korea, and he doesn't give the time of day to our allies who have never done any real harm to us.
How about the meeting today between the EU representative and Trump, where they agreed to make a more level playing field, hold off on the tariffs on automobiles, and there's been a really positive
automobiles
movement.
Wasn't part of that. Do you know what the major part of that was? Soybeans.
Well, soybeans are important. That's one of our major crops.
But they didn't say cars.
No. The cars that we were going to put a 25% tariff on European cars coming into the States, and we've agreed to hold off on that. And they have agreed on soybeans and a number of other things. And then, you know, this whole thing this tariff issue is really a war against unfair trade. And unfortunately, the soldiers that are having to fight this are our farmers. And I think that the $12 billion that Trump has decided to use to aid those farmers that are in pain while we fight this war is a very, very fair thing. And you know, I think Trump is doing a very good job when it comes to getting a more level playing field. Why would you not want
a more level playing field? It just cost us $12 billion.
Yes, but it's $830 billion in trade deficit that we run every year. So if it costs us $12 billion to straighten out...
The way you solve this problem is not a trade war. And look at what it's doing to the farmers in America. Look what it's doing to... I looked at... There's a company that makes latches for cars. I think for like Ford or Chevrolet or whatever. Makes latches. They make them out of metal. Mm-hmm. Because the cost of metal, which they have to get from China... has gone up 25%. They've had to let people go off of out of their company, and they may have to close their doors because of this.
Well,
and this is just a little latch company.
Look at the Europeans. They're going to be buying more natural gas from us. They're going to be buying the soybeans, and there's a number of other things that they're going to buy.
What you're doing
with less tariff
is Trump has said, here's the Kool-Aid, drink it, Phil, and Phil is just chugging it down.
You have blinders on.
Okay, Chris, any comments here? Jeff, any comments?
Oh my God, Phil, I don't know what you do. Do you take this with Kool-Aid every morning? Is that the way you take Trump Kool-Aid?
I use the egg salad to get the pills down.
Chris, comments about this?
Well, it seems like a Russian economic plan to pay farmers for not doing something. It just seems like something Putin would do to move money around in his economy. And let me read this meme I just saw, and maybe Phil can break this down for sure. Maybe it says, a president who knows nothing about economics started a trade war which hurt farmers, so he put them on welfare with money he's borrowing from the countries he started the trade war with. So instead of profiting off the sale of American food to China, like usual, Trump's trade policy has the United States paying interest to China while U.S. farmers become dependent on the government because they aren't selling food to China.
Where did that come from?
That is from from a source that you will discredit no matter what it is. So, because people know you as Shill Myers, anyway, and not Phil Myers. So, but just break down it without discrediting the source, because it's probably just some fat guy in front of a TV. Tell me what's wrong with that statement and why it's actually capitalism and not some form of socialism that enriches the 1%.
Don't we pay our soldiers when they're fighting?
Not a lot, but a little. They basically go for
$12 billion to aid the pain that the farmers are taking on, because we're trying to level the playing field for all American manufacturers so that they can compete competitively in the world market. You know, China manipulates their currency. China does, they steal our intellectual property. We are at war with many people in a trade war. And I believe that we need to, if we have to subsidize our farmers so that because we can't afford to lose the breadbasket of the United States. So we have to make sure that they stay above water. And so I don't look at it as a reallocating money. I look at it as ensuring that our farmers will be there tomorrow after the world changes its attitude towards the United States.
Who's going to buy the food they're growing now that China is out of the market? And are we going to start burning crops the way we did during the Great Depression, during the Grapes of Wrath?
Well, I don't know. But I know that
no one's going to eat all that.
Chris, there's African nations. There are people all over the world that are starving. They could use what it is that we grow.
Yes, but they're starving because the dictators hoard the supplies. They're not starving because we don't have enough food.
Well, they can't eat all the soybeans. You know, if what we have to do is just take this grain that we might. Instead of burning it, just give it to those people that need it. And if we have to subsidize the farmers until there's a level playing field, eventually the Chinese will want to buy what we have. We
want to buy it now, but we won't let them.
Well, they don't let us sell certain things in their country. They also tariff us much, much higher to make our goods non-competitive. And the Europeans are doing it, the Chinese are doing it, and even the Japanese were doing it. Now, there's been movement with the Europeans just today over natural gas, soybeans, and a number of other things. We've agreed that we'll hold off on these tariffs. So maybe the threat of these tariffs have done something positive to make a more level playing field.
That's pretty idealistic. We know dictators in Africa, they hoard food supplies and they make millions while people starve. Why isn't this a template that Trump is looking at to make himself richer, even if it hoards food? And because this is a guy who's already tortured.
I don't know where you're pulling this negative.
You're moving against capitalism. You're moving the invisible hand away from supply and demand, and having bureaucrats and plutocrats run the food supply. So how are you going to make money from that instead of, we know Trump is, but how are you supposed to make money from him screwing with the food and the supply and demand of it?
You know, my business increases when the economy is healthy. When the economy is healthy, I do very well. When the economy is poor, like it was in 2008, I had a really tough time. And it took years to turn around, and it's just starting to turn around now because the economy is much better than it's been in a long time. So all boats rise in a rising tide, and that's what happens in my business, and that's what will happen when other businesses are successful, because we're not being held back by other countries not working on a fair and equitable trade position.
Plus, you think this is fair?
I think it's very fair. I think it's fair. I think it's unfair of what other countries are doing to us, and that by fighting this battle, it will create a more level playing field that will be much fairer, and our people will be able to, the United States will be able to compete against any nation and sell their goods. But as long as you have people manipulating currency, as long as you have people stealing our intellectual property, and as long as you have people not allowing us to sell or making our products non-competitive in their country, and so you can't sell them, you're always going to have an unlevel playing field. So we're taking in all of their products. When Chinese sell us an automobile, and they don't sell us many, but it's a 2.5%, and the same with the Europeans. We had a 2.5% tariff, but the Europeans have a 25% tariff on our automobiles. Is that fair?
Why is this better than a boycott of Chinese goods, even though that we know that would crush a lot of investment here and a lot of the...
If you have a 25% tariff on Chinese goods, that's sort of like a boycott because it makes them less competitive.
And what's the historical example of this technique working under previous Republican administrations?
Well, you mean like Hoover and...
Well, this was in the 19th century. We got most of our revenue from tariffs and not from taxes. And we saw what happened there. We saw the great economic depressions of, I think, 1870s and the 1890s that we don't talk about because the 1929 and 30 dwarfed it. But there was a lot of horrible mistakes made back during that tariff culture, and I'm not sure this guy understands history. And he's only going to pay the top 1% of the 1% first, and everyone else is going to be left scrambling.
I don't think that, what Trump says is he doesn't want tariffs. He just doesn't want them, the other countries, to put the tariffs on us. Take away all the tariffs. That's what his goal is. Just have a level playing field where there aren't any tariffs.
But this guy can't make money running a casino, Phil. This is not a guy who
have to do with running the United States.
Because it's a mentality. He's playing poker. He's not building bridges with business partners.
Well,
he is about the short-term gain. He is not built to form a consensus, or he's not a team builder. His cabinet is a disaster. People paid their way into the cabinet. This isn't the best and the brightest. This is nowhere near the Goldwater Republicans. This is nowhere even near W Republicans.
Well,
this is a poker player who thinks he can run an economy the way he didn't run a school and a casino.
4% unemployment. There's at least 4 or 4.5% GDP.
So then no one has a right to complain who's a Republican since the unemployment is low, but they're complaining anyway. No, that's not actually the case. The poverty, the amount of income coming into people is really low. The minimum wage is much less than the standard of living proportionally, and you're citing that the unemployment rate, even though it's an
minimum wage. Chris, I don't believe in a minimum wage. I believe that wages will rise as demand for workers rise.
Should FDR have gone away with the minimum wage? Was that a bad way to get out of the Depression? Was that a bad step?
Yeah, I wasn't crazy about FDR and the WPA and all of those, welfare things. But on the other hand, I guess it worked. But you know what else worked? World War II. If it wasn't for World War II, all his social programs would have gone in the dumper.
We don't know that, but maybe.
Look, because World War II created a money machine, and it created employment, and it created the Rosie the Riveter, it created a robust economy, plus all the other nations were destroyed by Hitler, and they had to buy from us. They couldn't get it anywhere else. So it was a perfect storm, and it allowed...
The Marshall Plan helped out, too, sure.
Yeah.
We're been joined by Jack Bishop. Hello, Jack.
Marshall Plan helped out the Japanese.
Once again, I'm amazed at the delusional world that Phil Meyer lives in.
Jack, it's just too hot in Texas. You're getting fried, and your brain's getting fried.
You're damn right. I'm getting fried over the delusion that you live under.
Yeah.
How did you get that way, Phil? You appear to be a relatively intelligent man sometimes.
He is the friend. He is the friend I have that I'm embarrassed by.
Yeah, I understand where he's coming from on this, and I almost half agree, but it's just wrong.
How can you?
I see what he
Wait a
means.
minute. So if
No,
he's
I don't.
wrong, what can you agree with?
I understand only that a little bit of the direction that Phil, I kind of see why he gets the ideas he does, but I don't think he really stops and thinks things all the way through. That's the problem, I think.
Well, Phil,
if that makes any sense.
Rhetoric.
Phil has been very fortunate. He's been extremely fortunate. He has, that's all I can say about it. Is he has been, close enough to the American dream to think that it's there, but it's not there. It hasn't been there.
That's right. That's right.
I get up every morning at 5 a.m. and I go to work.
And you get into your Toyota FJ that costs $70,000 when you bought it.
35. But you know what?
You got it for $35. You bought it used.
No,
Now,
it's true. I bought it in 2011.
Oh, well, all right, Phil. Look, you were talking about tariffs.
Yeah.
And tariffs are designed to protect your home market. They're designed to protect your home market.
And yes, and our home market is not being protected at the moment because we're being inundated by other countries that we're not tariffing, and they're tariffing us.
So, to get American products into those other markets, we need to subsidize American products.
No, that's the welfare system that Chris was reeling against.
Bullshit! It's called playing hardball, and you know it. It's not.
What's wrong with eliminate the barriers and compete on quality?
This is the kind of show I love. I don't have to do a fucking thing. Go ahead.
All right. Because you expect everybody to play by the rules. Now, I'm an old-style San Francisco gangster. I say, hey, let's play by the rules that are being played.
You're an OG.
By the way, Chris,
Jack, I'll tell you. Jack. You know what I really, really love about you. I mean, I just love listening to you. But I'll tell you, you have that enthusiasm. I don't know where the hell you get your energy from sometimes.
All right. Well,
nitroglycerin.
Yeah. I don't do nitroglycerin. All I got to do is just listen to guys like Phil, and I get cranked up. Because you see, they want to be nice. They want to play by Marcus of Queensberry rules. I'm a street fighter. Let's brawl.
Yeah.
And where we sit behind our two great oceans for years after World War II and did not look at consumer goods manufactured in this country being exported.
It wasn't a global market as much as it is.
It certainly seemed that way for everybody else out there. What was the mantra of
you want to know what the problem? You want to know what the problem with Trump is? He went to Wharton School, I believe, but class of what? And when the whole world was different, and that you learned economics differently. But today, if you went to the Wharton School, he'd have to do a catch-up course, because he's still working under old rules.
Where do you pull this shit out of your ass?
Would you agree with me, Chris? That that he was taught it's kind of like going to a doctor who's like 80 years old and he's still trying to kind of do things. He's not up on the latest medicine.
Alex, the laws of economics are very, very simple,
when it goes from being national to international, when it comes to being he knows nothing about global economy.
It's just a bigger market. You got a guy that sells spears, and you got a hunter that needs spears. And if you make a better spear, he's going to buy your spear instead of the other guys. That's what it's all about.
Oh, it's that simple.
It's ironic. Trump got elected in part because he was going to slash regulations on middle-class business people and small businesses. And yet, internationally, he's just slapping regulation after regulation onto the trade.
No,
but there's a way to make money on both sides of that, Phil.
You don't see the whole story. You're so worried about the minutia
wait a minute, Phil,
money off of something.
Phil,
that's his motive.
Wait a minute, hold on a second. Just look at.
He's a philanthropist.
Look at what's happening.
What is his motive?
Look at what's happening out there, Phil. You have people who are saying, "Hey, I'm not able to sell my soybeans. Hey, I'm not able to make these latches for the cars." Wait, listen to me, because and I may have to close my company down because of this whole tariff war. And then you have these farmers who are going to get $12 billion to bail them out. That's from a good policy and from good fiscal thinking.
The sky is falling.
Well, yes, it is, Phil. The sky is fucking falling, and you better get yourself an umbrella. And when the sky is falling, shit is your best umbrella.
No reason to believe that the sky is falling, but Trump has given me plenty of reason to believe that he's negotiating a much better deal with these other countries.
Who is it going to benefit?
It's going to benefit the American worker.
No, it's not. The American worker has not been benefited since the 1970s.
And whose fault is that? It's not Trump's.
The fault of guys like you and guys like me not pushing our politicians to do the right damn thing.
Well, that's yesterday's news, Jack. Yesterday's news.
That's today's news. It's tomorrow's news, too.
And he's working, to begin with, anybody who had a notion that Donald Trump was a good businessman is out of their fucking minds. He was a laughable businessman. Here in New York, they laughed at him as a businessman.
Well,
he couldn't get anything to work,
Hey, Phil Myers, if you want
the guy's almost illiterate. The guy can't even friggin' read hardly.
Well, he's able to communicate with the masses. He got elected president.
Hey, the masses in this country has about a 6th grade education.
Well, then he finally spoke to the people the way they needed to be spoken to.
And the globe,
in a way that they could understand.
Our global trading partners have some of the highest rates of college graduated people in comparison to us. You know what the literacy rate in a 2-bit country like Costa Rica is?
I'm sure it's very high.
Phil, take a number. Be bold. Pick a number.
I have no idea what it is. I would imagine it's high.
It's 95%. You know what our literacy rate in this country is? Last time I checked, it was about 75%.
Yes, but if our literacy rate was based on speaking Spanish, it would be higher.
Oh, Phil, that is another. All right. How about if we spoke Yiddish? Do you speak Yiddish?
A little.
All right, good.
What do you mean a little? 2 words. What?
Little bit.
And I hope one of them is schmuck, because that's what I'm going to call you tonight.
Fakakta.
What, you going to call me a schmuck?
No, he was referencing me.
No, I was referencing him. Yeah.
Schmuck be an upgrade for Phil.
Yeah. Hey, listen, you got to go do a show, right?
Oh, please, don't tell me that.
Let me get rid of you right now so you can go do your show. Jack Bishop is next with The Intersection, ladies and gentlemen. Meanwhile, I guess nothing blew and everything worked with this new equipment and so on. And I want to thank everybody that called tonight to let me try it out. Jeff, thank you so much. Chris, you got to call more often. You're terrific, man. You are just the best. And, of course, Phil, you're an asshole. And Steve, nice having you here. Hey, why doesn't everybody wave a big goodbye and, and say goodbye to our audience? Do that. Yeah, that's enthusiastically. Come on. All right, there they go. Okay. Yes. All right. That's our citizen panel for tonight. Let me hang up on him. Get the line cleared for Jack so he can use it. I'll be back again tomorrow night. But what is it? Next is The Intersection. Then right after that, you have Connections. Then tomorrow night at 9:30, it's Damian Chaplin with The Exchange. I'll be back again tomorrow night. Same time, Same station as in life, as I like to always say. And in the meantime, if you see her, tell her I love her, okay?